Wow, this was a lot more than I expected. I want to start by thanking everyone who has been a part of 25 years of an amazing journey. It's great to be here this evening with so many friends. Congressman Thompson, it's interesting, Congressman Thompson, when I first met him 25 years ago in the Delta, appropriately challenged me. He said, I wasn't quite a carpetbagger, but I was new to Mississippi. And he'd seen, just like the people of the Delta, had seen a lot of promises. And I asked him to judge us by the work that we did. And obviously did, and I'm glad that he, on behalf of the people of the 2nd District, feel like we're making a significant contribution to one of the most economic distressed parts of this country. I want to thank him, David, National Housing Conference, thank you so much for this honor. I'm here tonight deeply grateful for the recognition that on behalf of those we serve at Hope, we are a member-owned financial institution. More importantly, we are a minority-owned financial institution. The majority of our member owners are people of color. And as important, we are a woman-owned financial institution. I appreciate the fact that they let me work on their behalf. I want to also thank those who I work with every day. Phil Idey, Kendra Key, 200 plus of the hardest working, most dedicated, most skilled people you can imagine, but every day to get up and work on behalf of people in a region where that has 1/3 of the persistent poverty counties in the nation, counties where the poverty rate has been over 20% for 3 decades in a row, deep entrenched poverty. I also want to thank my board of directors who keep me out of the ditch, keep us focused. A few of them are here tonight. I'd like to ask them to just please stand. Several current and past board members. Thank you. Today we're not here, we haven't been around as long as NHC, but 25 years ago this month we started to help businesses create quality jobs in the Delta. And today we serve more than 50,000 families. Every day touch 125,000 people, a majority of whom were previously either unbanked or relied on high-cost predatory financial service providers. And while we are proud of this work, there's nothing more that brings me satisfaction or I think that's more impactful than the work we do in housing. You might have noticed my limp coming up slightly. I had one hip replaced. Next month I'll have to take care of the other one. My daughter, who's a 2nd-year resident, told me recently, you can't have one good leg and one bad leg. I've learned the hard way that she is right. Either both are good or both are bad. For generations, policies and practices have systematically extracted wealth and dignity from people in society who are most vulnerable. Women, rural, the elderly, disabled, people of color more than anyone else, all those others in society who are on the outside looking in. For generations, we've allowed this to persist, but we fail to recognize the debilitating effects that it has on the entire society, on a civil society, on the economy. Everywhere we turn, every other headline, every other tweet, we see the toxic results of this. Today, 50 years after the passage of the Fair Housing Act, years after the Community Reinvestment Act, we seem to be going in the wrong direction. In Mississippi, the nation's poorest state, people are more likely to be turned down for a mortgage than anywhere else in the country. Also in Mississippi, which is also America's blackest state, 1/3 of all mortgage applicants submitted are turned down. Again, more than any other state, a rate higher than anyone else. And in Alabama or Mississippi, I'm not aware of a single black developer who has received a low-income housing tax credit award. Not one black developer in 2 of the blackest states in the nation. By systematically disenfranchising what is becoming the majority of an increasingly brown and black nation, we continually fail to acknowledge that you can't have one good leg and one bad leg. The fact of the matter is that these conditions are simply and sadly a microcosm of larger and sobering trends in the nation. Again, you heard David say earlier that home ownership is lower than it was prior to the Fair Housing Act when segregation was legal. And the pain doesn't stop with the legs. It affects every part of the body. This is true with social and economic justice. Beyond the well-documented and unparalleled benefits of stable, affordable housing and home ownership, too often policymakers, bankers, and developers and others turn a blind eye to what stable housing and high ownership rates mean, both in terms of better life outcomes for our families. Kids do better in school, and they're healthier. They go into college at higher rates. Housing pays for itself many, many times over, generating revenue that can pay for quality education, can pay for health care, can pay for grocery stores and food deserts, roads and infrastructures, things that many of us take for granted but are sorely lacking in some of the most persistent poverty places in this nation. All this makes for an overall climate that fosters business development, economic mobility, and a civil society. Instead of taking care of the weak leg, it seems we put more pressure on both by ignoring income and wealth gaps, by rolling back challenges to longstanding fair housing doctrine, by reversing common sense consumer protections, such as requiring that a lender must actually determine that a borrower has the ability to repay before they make a loan. My friends in America that is coming more black and brown, I'm here to tell you tonight that if we do not all claim responsibility for changing the direction that we're heading, then we will be complicit in resigning our children and their children to a future where their potential is severely limited. You know, we know what is possible. We know what can work when people are afforded the tools and the opportunity. It's up to people of influence like those of us in this room to find the courage to demand from those in positions of power the integrity, the accountability, and the fairness needed to ensure that all, regardless of the zip code, the race, the orientation, political party, are afforded the right to decent, affordable housing. Again, thank you. Thank you for this award so much.